He was not able to replicate the success, though.
Didn't work quite as effectively. This will be the third time we're seeing Dandy on his Jarvan once again, and an Ezreal locked in. So we know the duo lane for Ozone, they're reserving their solo laners to potentially counter Gambit or to see what the rest of Gambit's locking in so far.
The solo lanes have been very important, especially since we talked about the Alex and Diamond combo beat Dade and Dandy straight up in the very beginning of the last game of these two teams. They were both there in middle. Dandy was a couple steps behind, and it cost them very big.
Well, we'll see how it pans out right now. Ozone currently hovering over at Caitlyn. This would potentially make it a double AD. We've seen the Zac locked in, so Loop is most likely going to be playing that in the top lane, and Caitlyn is secured for them.
Yeah, I was going to say, it was interesting if we see another Imp Ezreal, but they're going to use that for the mid lane. It's something that you can use to fake out your opponents a lot. Ezreal being one of the few ADs that people will run in different lanes rather than the bottom lane. This is going to be a double AD comp, so we'll probably see some fast pushing here from Ozone.
And Ozone have done this before as well, where they've had that last two picks to potentially run the double AD. I distinctly remember actually Monte Cristo mentioning it during some of Ozone's games. Now Gambit on the other side, they have to decide what they want to run to counter this. 20 seconds left on the clock, and the audience definitely wants Xerath. And we'll see if Alex is going to be going for that. It would be the first time I think I've ever seen Alex playing Xerath.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
So, no Xerath now that we've passed out that one. I do want to talk about the revive passives on both teams here, because every time I've seen a team go up against Gambit with 2 revive passive with the Aatrox Zac combo, they win. And I know, it might have something to do with Gambit's love of the Guardian Angel item here, but having Diamond on that Aatrox makes me a lot more confident for them. They seem to perform much better when they do have someone who can throw their life in front of a turret and with the confidence that they'll come back up. So I'm very, very excited. Also because this is my first jungle Aatrox game I get to cast. I'm
a little nervous about Darian's Elise. When he did play it in the summer split of the EU LCS, he tended to give away more deaths than maybe he should
You're
have.
right. We're getting a little bit ahead of ourselves. There's 10 seconds left to switch back.
We'll have to see. We'll see how those go. We'll see how they get locked in. While we're waiting for that to happen and while we're waiting for the game to load, let's check out who you guys, the fans, think is going to win our very first game of the day. According to LOLesports.com, 75% of you guys believe in Gambit's overall bootcamp, which keeps you in line with freaking Crepo.
A lot of people have confidence there, and Ozone have been slipping already in this series. So, I mean, if you go with the last person who won the matchup, then it seems like the safe bet.
Yeah, it's very true. I mean, you know, Gambit have already beaten Ozone once this tournament. This is, of course, the first rematch as we're into the second half of those group stage games. And the real question is whether or not Ozone have actually learned from their mistakes, whether or not they've actually gone back to the drawing board and figured out where the holes were in their strategy to plug it. Because right now, it's the potential end of the road if they don't start picking up wins.
Well, one thing they have done is with Dade on Ezreal, it means he's going to be more mobile. Ezreal's very, very good at escaping mid-lane ganks. So this time around, I'm expecting less deaths from Dade.
Well, we'll have to see if it can work out for him. He will have to deal with incredibly mobile Elise Aatrox and ever-present global pressure of Alex's Karthus. Ozone are in the blue side while Gambit are on the red side. And for the time being, Ozone splitting up to have a potential defensive start here right now.
Both teams, actually. Yeah, it looks like there won't be too many early invades. Aatrox is actually one of the few champions that can solo jungle buffs by himself or very easily at the end or the end of the game.
Well, right now, Imp has already been caught out. Exhaust is down. We see him manages to flash over the wall. Genji decides not to chase, but that's barrier and flash burned from Imp this early in the game.
2 huge summoners down, and it only cost them an exhaust from Alex. He's not going to need that very early here, so it should be fine for them. We'll look at and see if they have to have more vision around the mid now for Gambit, because he'll be worried about Jarvan ganks, but he still has his flash at least.
So as it stands right now, Mata now moving himself towards the river, does place some ward down, not going to pull himself an odd one and get caught to give away first blood. Gambit are still grouped up at the bottom of the river there, so hanging out, waiting for somebody to walk by. Ozone have managed to avoid giving up any early kills.
This is one of the only games that we have not seen very deep red side invades, so neither team is going to have vision of the lane matchups here. Actually, we will for Samsung now because they saw Zyra on the bottom side of the map. But regardless, the junglers are going to have a bigger effect here. Now Genja takes so much early harass.
Headshot damage drops him down to 110, but he manages to walk away. Now he's going to have to recall and heal up because he was just caught out by the members of Ozone.
So even though Imp does not have his summoners, Genja has to recall for the first creep wave here. And it is actually going to be a very big lead for Imp and Mata. As long as Imp and Mata can ward up and protect themselves until the cooldowns come back from Imp's summoner spells, they definitely have a huge upper hand in this lane.
Well, we'll see if they can make it count because Mata's vision was severely lacking the last time they played Gambit. And definitely think they've been able to at least learn from that one. We do see Dandy picking up his red buff as Diamondprox secures his red buff as well. Darian and Lupa, they almost trade sides while they're farming up there in the top lane. And for the time being, it's just a straight-up matchup as everyone's going to be bashing head-to-head with their direct opposite numbers.
And Aatrox is actually a very good champion for just farming the jungle. Very early, he scales very well with levels, and he does not have to buy any health potions to sustain through his jungle clear because of his W. All you have to do is use it for damage until you get to half-life, and then once you're below half-life, it heals for 3 times the amount. So jungle Aatrox, he can sustain forever. The only drawback is that when you do come for your ganks, you'll usually be coming out at around 50% HP. So most of the ganks happen when he has his passive up, and he has the confidence that he will revive.
As it stands right now, Diamondprox around about 50% HP with that passive is trying to get on Looper in the mid lane. Dade and Alex trading blows back and forth, but Dade's auto attacks significantly more impactful than Alex's at this stage. He was trying to get those Skittles to land, managed to get a couple, and they're trading evenly. But as it stands, Ozone with heavy lanes pushed in that mid and bottom lane.
Yeah, they got such an early advantage by taking Genja out of the lane for the first creep wave. Imp and Mata have not let up here, and they did have Dandy as well waiting in the bush for a counter gank here, but Diamond hasn't even looked down there. He's just continuing to farm this jungle.
As it stands, Alexic in this mid lane, only a single CS behind that of Dade, keeping up, trading blows for blow right now. Genja's the only one that's falling behind thanks to that immense amount of damage he took at level 1. We're about to hit the 5-minute mark, and nobody's really had an impact yet. Just Dandy and Diamondprox, they're really
Diamond first one into the bush. Dandy doesn't see him.
Dandy gets hit. Red buff is applied. Diamondprox is about to get the blood price down. He's dropped to 200 HP. Gets the knock up onto Dandy's exhaust. Has come back up for Alex. Now the blood well has reactivated. It's now Diamondprox flashes in for the kill. First blood is secured for Dandy. It's now Alex forced to flash over the wall. Dade chases, reducing the red buff is sitting on Dade as those double Skittles trade damage. That's a 2-for-1 in favor of Ozone.
So this time around, it's Dandy and Dade who come out ahead in the mid matchup. Very, very big for them because they also got that all-important passive down on Aatrox. Aatrox has to play much, much more defensively without his passive. He's going to have to wait 3 minutes, 3.75 minutes is the exact timer on that passive.
So
yeah.
3 minutes 40? That's I don't know. We'll do math later. We'll do math later. As it stands, Mata trading the power cord there with Voidal, poking back and forth, but thanks to the sustain of Sona, going to be able to at least keep himself and Imp topped up a little more effectively. Genja has now evened up the CS, but here comes Dandy from the tri-bush.
He gets all the way around because it is pinked. He's in perfect position here.
Oh, Valkyrie's out to safety. Genja avoids the knockup. A great flash from Voidal, and he manages to avoid getting knocked into the air. Successful survival there from the support of Gambit.
I think now we're going to see Dandy go a lot more aggressive because one of the drawbacks of a jungle Aatrox is that when your passive is down, you have a very, very small chance of winning 2 versus 2 situations or even 1 versus 1 situations. So it opens up that window where your opponents know that they can bully you, and Dandy will have the confidence to even go into Diamond's jungle now and pull off any gank because in a 2 versus 2 situation, they'll come out on top.
We'll see how that works out for them. As it stands, Alexic has already completed those Sorcerer's Shoes very early on. He was able to at least secure one of those kills, or at least the only kill for Gambit in the river. See Gambit now falling about 1,000 gold behind. CS and those kills and gold in favor of Ozone. Alex has just hit level
Wow.
6, so now the Requiem is available for everybody.
And Alex has gone with a very quick Sork Shoes. That is both going to increase the impact of that first Requiem, but also it gives him movement speed for this very movement speed based matchup in mid. Both of these mids harass depend on skill shots, and the quicker you are, the easier it is to dodge those skill shots. Alex right now, buying those Sork boots, he's actually sort of a defensive buy. He's going to try and avoid a lot of the Mystic shots here from Dade.
Well, Dade still has that red buff there, even more impactful. Genja eats himself a Piltover Peacemaker, and we see in the background Voidal trading some damage with Mata. They're going toe-to-toe as it stands right now. Doran's shield and Doran's blade picked up there for Genja's Corki. If any AD carry is going to do a slightly different build, it's going to be Genja.
Yeah, you can definitely say that again. After the 2 Dorans, he'll probably transition into that Trinity Force that he likes so much, but this gives him very good early trading. Doran's items are pretty much the most efficient for very early trading, and now that he also has the shield, they'll be at least able to trade here in this lane where they were getting bullied out so early. I don't think, well, maybe, it's Genja. You don't know if he would have bought that without getting behind early or if
that was his plan.
Yeah.
Well, he hasn't done it yet, so this is the first time we're seeing it that I can recall. As it stands, Gamma continue just to farm up their lanes, farm up the jungle. Genja and Voidal holding out in this bottom lane, but they are still around 20 CS behind. We did see that true shot barrage from Dade, and it appeared to be scouting on Diamond.
Oh, so he started shield and he went Doran's blade second here. Anyway, the thing that's interesting to me is the build from Diamond. He's got a longsword, so he's going to go offensive after his Doran's blade start here, where a lot of jungle Aatroxes will go right into something like a Spirit of the Ancient Golem. He's actually going to be looking to clear even faster. And true to form, Aatrox with his passive down, we haven't seen much action from him lately. He's just trying to farm up his camp safely until that does come back up.
Well, we'll see how effectively Diamond can make the next gank work. That first fight definitely not working in their favor. First tower is going to fall in favor of Ozone on that bottom lane, thanks to all of that early control that had been secured by Imp and Mada. 67 CS, 9 minutes on the clock, and about 2,000 gold in the lead. Ozone looking good in the early stages of the match.
Yeah, the first turret definitely expected for this Ozone lineup with their double AD. Sona Caitlyn very strong at taking those down. A little bit of backup from Jarvan coming through with level 6. Meant that Gambit didn't really have any answers here. Now that Diamond finally does have his passive up, though, at least he'll be able to go for fights.
So that's the third time that I've seen Dade throwing out that true shot barrage. 2 of the 3 times it has hit Diamond procs. I'm going to theorize that it's for vision, trying to keep tabs on his opponent and where they're going.
So he was just trying to steal away the camp right there. They've got a ward over there giving them vision in that Wraith bush. That is very important.
And with that blue buff on, it's going to be able to get that true shot barrage. It's already less than, or more than 2/3 of the way off cooldown. The lane has been frozen there for Genja in the bottom, and he's just trying to play catch up. He really hasn't had as strong of a start as we've seen out of Gambit's bottom lane for the rest of the games. Dade and Imp now, double ADs. They're hammering around this mid tower.
I really like going a double AD composition versus Gambit because Genja's very well known for freezing lanes by himself. And when you have your AD down bottom freezing a lane, that just plays into the strength of this double AD team that wants to rotate around and continually take all of the outer turrets very quickly. With Genja not being there, Gambit are going to have a very hard time defending this a man down.
Well, we do see 3 of them there as Diamond Prox has rejoined. Bloodwell is available for his jungle Aatrox. We can see Darien slowly starting to rotate as well, as is Genja. That's a lot of damage. The True Shot Barrage plus the Ace in the Hole, chunking down multiple members of Gambit. And that immense poke is so strong right now.
And Gambit don't have a very reliable hard engage here. Zyra's very large area of effect, crowd control, has a long delay on it, and Diamond's Q is very, very hard to hit, and if he misses it, then he's very squishy right now, so Gambit are really just trying to clear creep waves for as long as they possibly can. With Zac coming down, though, the dive could even happen from Samsung Ozone, and Gambit know it.
Genja was hanging around on the outer rims of the lane. We do see the tower falling. Ozone managed to secure the second tower of the game. Darien, he was the first to rotate, went back to lane, and Lupa said, well, thank you very much. I will now go apply that extra bit of threat that forces Gambit backwards. We do see Darien's already picked himself up an early Haunting Guise, and this is all-in aggression from Gambit.
Yeah, it's very interesting, especially that Diamond has gone for an offensive Aatrox build because he could focus his defenses all on armor versus this Samsung team because Zac is not a very high source of magic damage, and Zac's usually going to be looking to dive the back line, going for Corki. Gambit, 5 members though, just rushing down this turret, or this dragon.
True shot barrage flings across, doesn't secure anybody. Diamondprox throws out that Massacre. Of any team that I've watched that really puts a lot of importance on Dragon, I feel that Gambit are arguably one of, if not the most impactful in that objective.
Yeah, and remember all the analysts talk about the mid-game rotations from Korean teams. They actually have Zac, who's a very slow tower pusher, up top while that dragon is standing, and Gambit really do a good job of taking that opportunity, grabbing some global gold, and getting Darien right back up there in time to defend this turret.
Darren's going to hold onto his tower for the time being. It's the only outer tower still standing for Gambit. I would dare say that no members of Gambit have applied any damage to any of Ozone's towers as they've been so defensive for these opening 10 to 12 minutes of the game. Diamondprox has started off the second blue buff. This one will, of course, be donated to Alex, as was the previous one. Little Skittle will give him that one. That's approaching level 11 for Alexich's Carthus. So that Requiem getting ever more powerful.
And now that he has the Catalyst, he is looking to build into that Rod of Ages. This is going to be a bit delayed, as a lot of Carthus players like to go straight Catalyst and tier, and then get both of their ramping items very early.
As it stands right now, Gambit nowhere in position to defend this tower. Ozone are going to secure their 3rd outer tower of the game in a very short space of time. They extend that gold lead a little bit further. The Dragon has helped to discount that big disparity. But as it stands right now, it's definitely a strong start for Ozone. I want to keep my eyes on Dade's build. It looks like he's going to be going for that Trinity Force. Even as a mid lane is, he's transitioned to the new Ezreal as opposed to the blue buff Ezreal.
Don't think Double Lift's happy right now. Double Lift's a huge fan of that blue build. And here, even starting with the tier and the Sheen, looking to transition into that Trinity Force. Interesting little switch up here, but this whole time, the other one going for Trinity Force is Genja. He's been freezing that bottom lane this entire time, so all the objectives that are going down are because Genja's trying to get catch up and farm right here down in the bottom lane, and he's not joining the rest of the team to defend anything. So Gambit know that they were going to lose this first outer ring of turrets, and they're trying to get him back in the game. He still has not been able to catch up, though.
Well, we'll have to see how Gambit hold on, as now Ozone are stacked up in this mid lane, looking to find their next objective, looking to find the next target to set their double AD sights on. Dade is going to explore over the wall, going to take down a ward, clear out the camp now, and all of a sudden Ozone, the numbers advantage, they're trying to chunk down this mid inner turret, and the range of Imp's Caitlyn is definitely going to help them do it if they extend it.
So now we finally see a 5-man Gambit team, but again, the engage from Gambit is very risky. They're looking basically for skill shots here, either from Diamond or Darien to land. It'll probably start off with a wall from Alex to slow down some members of Ozone and then look for those skill shots. But they are getting poked down so well by this long-range Samsung team.
Alex is dropped to well below half-life. You can see Dade hanging out on the side, spamming out his Mystic Shot over the wall. In conjunction with Ace and the whole True Shot barrage, the HP bars of Gambit is just diminishing. They're forced to recall. Now, luckily for Gambit, there's not enough attack damage on Imp yet to really shred through this tower. This is 3 or 4 waves worth of minions. They've only got it to about half.
Yeah, but they can sustain here for a very long time. They've got Sona, and they have tons of poke damage here. So all they have to do is stay and whittle them down. Alex tries to get off the wall there to set up some of those skill shots to slow them down, but they just give up another turret here. They're not able to grab one back. All Samsung have to do is repeatedly go clear out their side waves and then return to another turret. Siege up here because there's not a lot of threat from Gambit at this point. Samsung's just going to slowly keep on increasing this lead and get further and further ahead in items.
Well, we'll have to see how effectively they can make it work, because as it stands, they already have 4 towers to 0 of Gambit. Darren has now moved to that top lane. He's got his Sorcerer's Shoes and that Haunting Guise, definitely trying to be a damage threat in this game. We haven't seen any fights at all between these two teams.
And that's really due to the strategy of Samsung right now. They don't want a team fight. They're just looking to take down all of these turrets. They have a really nice line as well of wards up this blue side jungle of Gambit, so they might also be trying to control the next blue buff that pops up. That would also put Alex even further behind. He has at least completed that Rod of Ages, though.
So that will start stacking up, giving Alex more HP, mana, and ability power as it stands right now. Blue buff is not up. There's about a minute on the clock before Dragon respawns, and we know that Gambit put a lot of importance on that objective. So we may see them grouping up and trying to challenge for that target. Ozone, however, have got no vision yet, but look at those ring of pink wards in and around that mid lane to the blue buff area. Ozone are just setting up in Gambit's territory.
Yeah, Dragon's going to be awfully hard for Gambit to get to. Face checking with this fairly squishy composition where they've all built offensively as well is extremely dangerous. Even against this Ozone team that's, you know, based on 2 ADs. One flash crescendo catching out any members of Gambit would be devastating.
Well, we'll see how it works out. As it stands, all the numbers are starting to group up. 15 seconds on the clock. Alex doing the best he can to scout with those lay wastes. Aatrox is going to jump over the wall. It's a pretty thick line of trees, but he does manage to get out cleanly. The rest of Gambit now starting to collect and group up in this bottom half of the map. Now that the blue buff is up, he's only going to set their targets on this one, donate that over to Dade, and then immediately roll into the river to try and take out the Dragon.
So, you know, now that I see the Trinity Force completed, I do like that better than the blue build because the blue build takes a little bit longer to really ramp up. But they might be missing that area of effect slow from the Iceborne Gauntlet. At least Ezreal will be much quicker, and, you know, Dade won't have to deal with more criticisms from people.
Well, Gambit for the time being know that the Dragon's down and will definitely be aware that with that blue buff steal and with their knowledge and when it spawns that Ozone have secured that one. It now gives Ozone a slightly higher than 3,000 gold lead, but still not immense, not a massive amount of gold considering that they have a 4-tower advantage over Gambit. We see that Genja is still basically in this semi-frozen lane and trying their best to catch up. He's still 30 CS behind Imp though. That number hasn't necessarily declined over the last 15 minutes.
Well, he's still working on that Trinity Force, whereas Imp has rushed that Bloodthirster, which is even better for taking turrets, pure attack damage, and sustain for life-stealing off of creep waves. Right now is the time where it does get a little dicey for Ozone because they have to push much deeper into Gambit's territory, and the rotations for Gambit... Oh, he steals this one!
Oh, that was well played. True shot barrage from downtown. That was blind as well. I can't see any wards.
Well, he's got 2 pink wards in there now.
So, well played there by Ozone to sort of secure that one out. Gambit trying to get vision control back. They've got their own pinks throughout their sides of the jungle, but it hasn't necessarily worked out for them just yet. Diamondprox will be a little frustrated at having that buff nicked away from under his nose.
That's extremely frustrating as a jungler. Thought he had it. He even drew it back over to the bush. But really, this whole game is going to be frustrating for Gambit at this point. All Samsung have to do is continue to take every single outer turret, this bottom one first, and then rotate up to the top. The exact same situation is going to happen here. They'll siege up. Zach can block a lot of these skill shots from Genja, and they can sustain here with Sona.
Gambit a little bit late to reply. Voidal gets hit by the True Shot Barrage. Nobody else dinged by that one, so they've at least got a little more HP, but you can see Dade basically running interference, hanging out by the tree line, spamming those Mystic shots with his blue buff, and now his Mura mana completed. That's going to be a lot of on-hit damage. Tower is being shredded away. Cocoon does not connect with anybody. No CC means Gambit can't jump in.
Yeah, this is the feeling like when you're in ARAM and the other team just has Lux and Nidalee and they're poking you continuously down and you can't engage. Gambit are extremely frustrated right now. They have to land a Karthus wall to slow someone down for a Darien Cocoon or a Voidal Grasping Roots here.
We'll have to see how it works out. Lupa right now has that Spirit Visage built up and a Giant's Belt, so has the ability to tank damage.
The wall at least.
Gambit looking to go in. The wave clear is fairly decent from Gambit, but that's 3 or 4 minion waves, and the tower is within touching distance of getting dropped. Genja now gets chunked by that True Shot Barrage. That's 2 on the single siege.
And the Muramana transform already? That is a huge amount of damage coming in from this Ezreal. A 21-minute power spike with this half blue, half yellow build.
We'll have to see.
I'm actually a really big fan of it.
We'll call it the rainbow build if he gets more colors in there. Dade is going to arcane shift forward. The 5th tower of the game falls. Gambit are 4,000 gold behind. It's 2 kills to 1. We haven't seen a Requiem. And other than the gank at, what was it, 4 or 5 minutes, these two teams have not battled at all. Ozone in complete control.
This is a very slippery slope. After the first turret goes down with this composition from Samsung Ozone, it just gets harder and harder and harder for Gambit to go for that fight. They were able to sneak that one dragon because Zach was up top, but that is it. From this point on, from that point on, it's basically been all Ozone increasing their gold lead. And they're almost at the inhibitor turrets.
Dade's thinking about playing with Genja right now. His Arcane Shift is available. There's no Ignite though, so keep that in mind. True Shot Barrage comes out. He Arcane's over the wall. Doesn't manage to get any form of slow available, and a good Valkyrie from Genja. He gets out cleanly.
So yeah, that's something that Dade would do on Zed. He would go assassinate whoever was freezing a lane. A little bit harder to do on Ezreal, but Ezreal with that red buff could have been tricky. Genja easily getting out of this one though. And Gambit returned to their very slow, desperate farm game here where they're just trying to clear out minion waves and hope that Samsung slip up with a bad tower dive. I mean, they're just getting so far behind now. It's very, very rough.
All chips are on the late game here for Gambit. We see Darien and diamondprox finally starting to build a little bit of tankiness. Sunfire Cape being worked towards there for Darien. We see that Emblem of Valor for diamondprox. So more likely than not going towards that Aegis. Maybe could have been useful a little earlier, and that may have helped them pick a fight, but hindsight is always 20/20. As it stands right now, Seeker's Arm Guard for Alex. So he's also building up some armor to help fend off this heavy physical damage from Ozone.
Just so hard for Gambit to get an engage. So reliant on these skill shot CCs. I think they were thrown off by the Ezreal. Didn't expect the dual AD composition, and so they didn't go with anything. The very hard engage here. You know, what team did Freak pick here? I kind of forgot.
Freak went with Gambit.
Damn.
Pretty sure Freak went with Gambit. Freak and Crabbo on the Gambit train, and I believe Monty and Double Lift went for Ozone, so we'll see who is proven correct. As it stands right now, Dade still in this mid lane, 239 CS. He's grown himself about a 30 CS lead over Alex's Karthus. And, you know, Alex is gaining power steadily, but it hasn't been used at all.
And you can see how little communication on both of these player cams. Neither team is saying very much. Mata, the play caller there, just calling out the dragon, but they know the game plan is very, very easily laid out for them. They just have to rotate up, take one more outer turret, and then they're on the inhibitor ones.
Well, the question is, can they get past the inhibitor turrets? Those have traditionally been the most difficult nuts to crack. As it is for Gambit right now, they see that the red buff is being started. Smite is available for diamondprox. Here comes Darien. There's not going to be enough, and it looked like Dandy actually smited that himself. So we'll see how that works out for him. The rest of Gambit now rolling up to this top lane. Ace in the hole used just to try and poke Genja down. He's going to survive mostly healthy, and now all of a sudden 5 members of Ozone are setting their sights on this top tower.
Gambit are really hoping for a dive from Ozone so that they can use the Zyra Stranglethorns as the counter engage, the brilliant counter engage that it is. But Ozone are not going to fall into that trap. They know they have the upper hand, and they're not throwing this one away.
Well, Ozone right now, they decide to back away. Aren't 100% comfortable on staying sieging on that tower. And that's the first time we've seen Ozone back away from a tower over the last sort of 10 minutes of gameplay. From the moment Imp and Mata rotated mid, they sat on a tower basically permanently until they secured it. So maybe a glimmer of hope here for Gambit as they're falling further and further behind. 5,300 gold as it stands right now. Just an immense number, especially if you have no way of actually picking a fight with Ozone. Effectively, Gambit have to wait to basically counter-engage and do it perfectly.
Yeah, I think they're going to wait for the inhibitor turrets. If there is a dive from Ozone, then that will be great for them. They can use the Zyra ultimate. But if there isn't, they might have to fall back on a flash in from Alex, a flash exhaust from Karthus, landing the wall, and just hope that the slow is enough. Ozone, all they have to do in that situation, though, is slowly kite back, use the crescendo as their counter engage.
Well, we'll see how that works out for them. Alex getting closer to having that Zonya's Hourglass completed. Most likely going to secure it for himself right now. Does actually look like he has enough gold. Mata now clearing out the wards in the Baron Pit. Sunfire Cape has been completed for Darian, so he'll be surviving for significantly longer against the likes of Dade and Imp. You see that Diamondprox still sitting on his Emblem of Valor, and that Bilgewater Cutlass hasn't necessarily upgraded in either direction for a little while. Ozone now, once again, grouping up towards this top lane. They're definitely playing the tower game. They're more interested in a Ozone versus environment than they are against an Ozone versus Gambit right now.
Gambit are here for this one. So again, they're going to try and clear out these waves and poke around the side. But Ozone, he does get caught. There's a good Stranglethorn.
Crescendo doesn't land on anybody. Strangleforce does knock up a few. Dandy is the first target. Requiem being channeled from out to the back line. We do see Gambit securing the first kill of the fight as the Bloodwell has been popped. Genja was forced to run away. He was basically singled out by Lupa. This is a 2-for-1, and now all of a sudden, Alex is in trouble. He's forced to exhaust Dade, throws out the Hourglass. Neither of the skill shots from Ozone land, but it's not going to be enough as Mata secures the kill. That is a 1-for-3 at the end of the day. They're going to secure the tower.
Ozone did a very good job of spreading out for that team fight. Gambit, like we said, we're getting very desperate here. They had to make a move, did not pay off though, and now they're going to lose a Nexus turret.
Oh, that's a flash forward from Mata. We see Voidal's in trouble. Doesn't manage to get knocked up, but we do see the ace in the hole securing the kill. Darian forced to run away. Is now the inhibitor turret's going to fall. They should be able to get the inhibitor and back away before anyone from Gambit is able to defend. Here comes Diamond and Darian, but it's too little too late.
It's pretty far gone here for Ozone. This giant gold lead that they've amassed by taking 7 turrets to Gambit 0 is very hard to overcome. We have also seen some auras now even coming out. The Aegis of the Legion for Dandy means that everybody's going to get that extra little magic resist to try and deal with the Requiem from Alex.
Well, as it stands right now, Gambit are really, really fighting tooth and nail just to stay alive. Alex does actually secure the blue buff there as Dandy smite a little bit early. Inhibitor is down in the top lane, so Gambit are going to have these waves pushing towards them. But they literally cannot afford to make a single mistake more. To be fair, it doesn't even feel like Gambit has tried to make a play. Ozone is just in complete control. They've decided when the fights happen, and Gambit haven't been able to find a window of opportunity
Yeah,
yet.
well, what Gambit had to do was get off to a good early start here. Maybe some assassinations or picks with their skill shot crowd controls, but because Genja got chunked out so low in the very beginning of the game, that gave a lead to an already incredible tower pushing team in terms of tower pushing. And then because Diamond's first gank in mid turned sour for them, that was both of the things that they were really banking on here. Some jungle pressure or some bottom turret hanging on to that one. That with that very early 2 bad starts for Gambit, they really haven't had much choice.
So right now, Gambit stacked in this mid lane. Darian has toyed with recalling up in that top tri-bush. Gambit definitely afraid that the Baron is going to be started off by Ozone. Finally, we do see Darian most likely going to deal with those super minions, and the rest of Ozone hanging around. Red buff secured there by Imp. Manages to steal that one away from Gambit. As it stands, Gambit a little bit spread out, a little bit out of position. Diamondprox toying with the idea of coming in from the side.
Yeah, that's going to be a good chunk of damage on this middle turret.
Minion wave is now there. Imp and Dade dropping it down. It's below a third. Now it's down to a half. Piltover Peacemaker goes out. That tower's going to fall before Gambit can even respond. That's tower number 8. They're now turning their attention over to the inhibitor. Gambit once again unable to hold on to their towers, and that True Shot barrage is hitting for a lot.
This has got to be a very calm game for Ozone right here. They've had the upper hand for the entire match. And another inhibitor goes down.
Gambit just unable to respond. Wall of Pain is there. Alex is trying to make something happen. They get the cocoon onto Danny, but this is 3v5 in a best case scenario. Zonya's Hourglass has been popped there by LXH. Remember, Requiem is available. We'll have to see how much damage it can deal. Lupa gets stunned up in the back line. He gets knocked into the air by Diamondprox. Now Imp, Dade, and Mata are low. Dandy has survived. They are going to be able to pick up a kill here onto Lupa, but that is all. Dandy gets out cleanly. Piltover Peacemaker almost connecting with Genja, and in the background, we see that Voidal actually went down. I think that may have been, I didn't even see what killed him, but 2 for 1. And Gambit, you know, they started that fight, it was looking almost good, but there's too much damage from Ozone.
Well, yeah, they're just extremely desperate at this point. It was a very well-played game by Ozone, very methodical. All right, let's take a look at the replay here, and we'll find out what happened to Voidal. Looper does get a very good let's bounce here onto Alex, and they're going to end up trading. But a zoning ultimate there from Zyra on top of Alex's dead body means that they're going to answer with Looper as well. He's burning. There, Voidal's burning. Oh, what is he? He dies to minions? Oh,
wow.
no. Oh, no.
That sucks.
Whoa, what's going to kill? Oh, no. No.
Imp has even recruited the aid of the super minions and caster minions to land those auto attacks. And you know what? If it gets you the kill, you're going to be happy with it.
Well, you said that Ozone were playing a very PvE-based game here. Looks like Voidal has to work on his PvE game.
That is for sure. As it stands, Voidal going down to those minions in the back line. Now all of a sudden, Ozone have that 10,000 gold lead. They have super minions top. They have super minions middle. They have vision controlling Gambit's jungle. And there's a massive, massive wave from the bottom half of the map there. Genja, even with freezing the lane and playing so passively for so long, is still 40 CS behind that of Imp. That is a massive difference at this stage in the game.
And I think that Ozone are showing some good discipline here by not rushing anything. Yes, it is making for a very slow game and a slow end to the game, but after the start that they've had here, I'm not surprised. They probably had a very stern talking to by their coach, and they're probably just showing the discipline that they want to take it as safely as possible, make sure that they finish this one out and don't drop another match.
Well, the double AD comp is definitely something that they are definitely comfortable with, and getting off to such a strong start has played in their favor. The rotations that we talked about in the pregame have paid true. Darian is forced out of this fight just from the poke of Ozone, and Voidal once again dropping incredibly low. Inhibitor has been retaken. Ace in the hole goes out. That catches onto Genja, dropping him below a third. The rest of Ozone not turning their attention to the bottom lane turret. It looks like this is all she wrote for Gambit as Ozone throw out the true shot barrage. Tower number 9 has now fallen. We do see Dandy jumping in, flag and drag, Cataclysm down. Here comes Looper in the background. Let's bounce. Genja's the first victim of the fight as Looper is bouncing on 3 members of Gambit. Alex is not really in a great position to deal damage, and Requiem, even though it's up, it's not going to be enough. Starts to channel that one out. Not going to be able to secure any kills right now. The rest of Ozone is going to jump on the tower. Dandy sitting on top of the death-defied corpse of Alex will be the first victim, but it's Dade and Imp that you need. Darian's healed up out of the fountain, still not able to kill Dade down. Now Darian forced low, lands a cocoon, he gets dropped. Imp flashes forward to land the audio attacks. The Nexus is going to fall, and ladies and gentlemen, Ozone have bounced back.